Hey guys, it's Arjun. Welcome to my first deck profile tutorial. I'll be going over the main deck list, extra deck, side deck options, and some other possible tech options as well in this. Timestamps will also be included in the description of this as well. So this is going to be my version of Fire King Jurrac. It used to be the Chicken Nugget deck when it was pure Fire King. But with the introduction of Jurrac, I think these are now Dino Chicken Nuggets. I've been playing mainly Fire Kings the past year. Previously was a Dino player before that, so it's kind of funny how things have come full circle. But with, noticeably more and more players adopting it, thanks to the introduction of Dinkabui's Jurrac tech, I thought I'd show you my version just to give you some more ideas of how to run it. Almost everyone who plays it, including Dinkabui, usually runs some heavy hand trap version of the deck, with Dominus Impulse, Ash, those types of things, which is definitely a great option. But I personally don't utilize that option. I don't think it really plays to the strength or appeal of the deck very well. Fire King is a deck which is really focused on the grind game and recursion. So again, let me preface this by saying this is my version of the deck. It fits that playstyle a little bit more, which is focused on, board break, recursion, grind game. So yeah. Also with the recent emergency ban list, the recent Inferno Barrier statue ban, the floodgates, all that. This deck's going first ceiling is a lot lower, and you definitely need more board breakability. If you hand trap, for example, it could be a little bit risky and ineffective, especially in this like Mitsu Yummy meta. So if you like Ash, Nib, or do anything like that, if your opponent plays around it, you're immediately going to be at a -1 going second, potentially more if they have any hand rips. So you just have to be patient with your resources. You're going to be trying to bait as much as possible with this deck. And in addition to maximizing your resources, if you acclimate to the combo lines of this deck very well, you will be able to disrupt on your opponent's turn almost endlessly without, pitching the additional resources. It's also not a boss monster meta right now. It's more of a swarm meta, especially with Yummy. So because of that, this deck can be pretty devastating in that matchup. And also this version of the deck is at 40 cards. You do want to keep it as lean as possible with Fire Kings, just to maximize your chances of seeing your one-card starters, which are somewhat limited in this deck. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of the deck, starting with the main. Let's go ahead and start with the main Fire King engine. So first up, we have 3 Ponix, 3 Ulcanix, 3 Kirin, 3 Garunix, 1 old Garunix, 1 Arvata, and 1 Rangbali. And then also little Kirin as well. All right, so starting with Ponix. He is your main starter, and also one of the only true one-card starters in the deck. He can also be comboed, with some of your extra deck as well, Relinquished Anima, things like that. We'll get into that in a second here, but the good thing about Ponix is on summon, he can search any Fire King spell trap. Also on destruction, he floats back to your hand on the standby of next turn. So if you have a choice, between destroying or tributing, you should always be looking to destroy monsters before tributing him as a last resort, because he kind of makes you go ahead and see more cards constantly. Also, you're usually going to be searching into Fire King Sanctuary to go into the Fire King Island and then either pop him so he comes back on standby or another card. You know, that's the main combo line of the Fire King engine. So very important card, must play 3. Next starter is Fire King Ulcanix. She is the other true starter in the deck. Unlike Ponix that searches a spell trap, she allows you to pop another fire and search. So if you have both of these in your hand, I would definitely recommend playing Ulcanix first and either popping another fire monster in your hand, which you should have in this layout of the deck. And then Ponix will special summon from hand because a fire monster is destroyed, and then you can add the island or the sanctuary. So if you have a choice between these two, definitely want to start with her. Also, on destruction, she lets you special summon old Garunix in defense mode. So because of that, this is a kind of a brick. Like if you draw it first, you don't want to draw this card ever. This is a card that you just want to like special summon from deck, regardless if you're going first or second. But this is also very good as well in that if it was destroyed by a card effect the turn before, it'll reborn in standby and dark hole the board, blow up all monsters, including yours as well. But this deck feeds through destruction, so it's not really a big deal. But this is really good to, you know, constantly clear board. You know, a lot of people are running Raigeki for yummy counter. This is your Raigeki, one of your Raigekis in this deck, and it's constantly clearing the board. Next up, we have the best extender in this deck, the main extender, which is Fire King Garunix. He combos, he's what you want to search usually with Island, because even if he's not in your hand before the destruction, you can automatically summon him if a fire monster was destroyed. It specifically says that, even if it's not in your hand. Also, he floats from grave, so he special summons from grave if a fire monster is destroyed. Basically, you just want him in your hand or grave at all times. And then he's also like the main extender, because on summon, you can then destroy one Fire King card in your hand, deck, or grave, or Winged Beast, Beast or Beast Warrior monster specifically. And then he'll gain half the attack. So he combos very well with our next card here, which is arguably the best card in the deck. It's Kirin. The reason Kirin is the best card in the deck is because you can quick effect pop any fire monster from hand. This also is what allows you to combo with the Jurrac tech so well, and that if you have the Megalo, which we'll go into in a second here, you can just quick effect Kirin, pop Megalo, send a Stero to grave, and then you have a quick effect Jurrac Meteor in grave on your opponent's turn. In addition to that, when Garunix hits the board and you pop Kirin from your deck, Garunix goes up to 3,900 attack for the turn, and then Kirin is a non-targeting pop after you reborn a fire monster from grave or special summon another Fire King monster not named Kirin from your hand. So this is the straw that stirs the drink. This thing, best card in the deck by far. Then we have two more extenders here in Rangbali and Arvata. Rangbali actually negates the activation of a spell trap, and then Arvata negates the activation of any monster. So this is good against hand traps. This is good against any face downs, of course, back row heavy decks. People forget that these negate. And in addition to the extending opportunity, Rangbali is another card that you can special summon from your hand off destruction of a fire, as long as the Fire King was face up. And then Arvata is a monster that you can use to reborn another Fire King card once it's destroyed. The only thing is its effects are negated of whatever card you're reborning. So you're usually using that to special summon back something and immediately go into your extra deck, you know, do something like that. And then we have our bridge into the Jurrac Engine, which is Little Kirin. You can send any fire monster from your deck to grave when it's destroyed. So usually how this works is you combo this with Miscellaneousaurus, which is also in this deck. And then you can banish Miss to go into the Jurrac lines. So that's the main Fire King engine here. Going into the next part of the deck, we have 2 Sanctuary, and then we have 2 Island. We also have 2 Skyburn and 1 Circle, Circle of the Fire King as well. So Sanctuary is infinitely better to see than Island, because if you have Sanctuary, you can immediately set Island from your deck. So you want to see this more. The reason I'm not running 3 Sanctuary and 1 Island, or any other combo of the line, is because generally there's a lot of board removal in this format. So what I find is usually Fire King Island is destroyed at some point. It's like True Light, and where if it's destroyed, all of your monsters are destroyed as well. So you just have to be a little bit careful with these. You usually don't want this up unless you have Sanctuary. The thing is that Island is just one of the main starters, in that when you pop a card, you can search another Fire King. So it's just really important to have. Another reason Sanctuary is good is that if this was to be destroyed, this protects this. So if someone tries to target Island with a destruction effect, you can basically just pop another fire monster, whether it's Ponix or some other Kirin, some other card that wants to be popped. You can just pop a fire monster to keep this on the board. Also, one of the overlooked things about Sanctuary is you can exi off a special in response to your opponent's special summon. So this is really good into going into the Garunix Eternity in our extra deck, which we'll talk about in a second. Just really great cards. And then outside of these two, we have our Skyburn and our Circle. You're usually searching these with Ponix if you don't already have them in your hand. So these are generally cards you don't want to draw into, but if you do, it's fine as well. If you have the choice, you want to search the Skyburns first. This is such a good card because you can target any number of cards on your opponent's field, and it just helps you with removal. But the thing that really makes it good is that, with old Garunix wiping the board, or Garunix Eternity wiping the board, or even people targeting Island. If you don't have any protection for Island, it gets destroyed, and then all your cards are about to be destroyed. If this is in your graveyard, you can just banish it, and you can protect any number of Fire King cards that you want. It doesn't actually specify it in the text, so it's a really good card to have, in your grave as well. Also, with it being good in your grave, you can, combo it with Super Poly. Pitch Super Poly requires you to discard a card, so if you have an option, you can either discard Skyburn or discard, Sacred Garunix, just to make sure that you have cards that can be activated from grave or float from grave at all times. And then Circle, this is our more of an OTK card. It was really good with Barrier Statue at the time. The only way to get Barrier Statue out that wasn't through normal summoning at the time was through Promethean Princess after destroying it. And then, if it was destroyed again, you could use Circle. But this is a quick effect spell, so you can activate it in battle phase to finish games, swing for game, windows, things like that. It's any fire card. It doesn't specify Fire King, so really good card to have. Next up, we have some other cards that I've added in here, but aren't part of the main engine, but have just been very useful the past few months. First one is Sacred Phoenix of Nepththys, and then Queen of the Blazing Domain, a newer card. You're probably looking at this and thinking, why Nepththys? I'll tell you why. It's a Wing Beast Fire, level 8, so you can combo it into your extra deck. Also, like old Garunix, which is dark holing the board on summon, this card is kind of like its counterpart, in that it's always wiping the spell trap back row zone on standby if it's destroyed by card effect. So, you're probably asking, why not just run Harpies? Harpies is good, but so much can happen with Harpies. They can rebuild their board as well. There's so many back row decks these days too. Just having a constant reset every turn with this card is very useful. Also, a lot of times you're going to be noticing that in this deck, you're just going to need like to draw like one fire monster to get your stuff going. Harpies is a spell, so like this has just a little bit more versatility and synergy with the deck. And then we have Queen of the Blazing Domain. This deck, or excuse me, this card is an amazing card to have. Unfortunately, there's no draw into it or search into it. Bonfire is only a level 4 or lower pyro monster. This is also one of the only non-fire monsters in the deck. It's a dark. It should be fire. It's Queen of the Blazing Domain. She's surrounded in flames, but I don't know why. But she is a dark, and she's a 2-pop extender. So if you pop 2 cards, which you're always looking to destroy your cards, you can special summon her out to the field. And then any card in your opponent's monster zone that goes to the grave is banished instead. So she's almost like a D-Fissure from field. This combos incredibly well with the extra deck, you know, whether it's Meteor, Eternity, Old Garunix, you know, wiping the board. She can't be destroyed by card effects. So if you Meteor the field and she's on the board, all of your opponent's cards are banished, or monster cards are banished, and she remains on the field. So she's just definitely raises the ceiling for going first. An incredible card. If she was a fire type, she'd be perfect. And then now we're going to go ahead and get into the dinosaur engine, Jurrac. So starting off here, we have 1 Misc, 3 Megalo, and 1 Fossil Dig. That's it. You're probably wondering, where is Animadorn? Where is Soul Eating Oviraptor? I don't run those cards just because they're not fire monsters. There's low synergy. Animadorn is not really a true 1-card starter. It's more of a 2-card starter that you need to have a dino in your card in your hand with. So I just do not run that. You can swap Fossil Dig out for other extra deck or side deck cards. So this is optional to play, but it just gives like another, either, you know, even if they ash it, or, you know, you want to bait the ash actually with this deck, and I'll show you why later. But it's just like another good card to have. Misc, amazing card, limited to 1. If they ever unlimit it, it'll be so broken. But yeah, usually you want to Fossil Dig into Misc first. Use Misc to go to grave, banish from grave, and then special summon a Megalo out to field. Megalo is an amazing card, one of my favorite cards right now. In addition to all these being fire types, Megalo is a tuner like Ash. So if you have, you know, more than you need in your graveyard, you can, after you meter, you can actually special summon from grave. And then even if you have 2 in your hand, if you special summon 1, you can discard 2 cards, you know, Skyburn, Garunix, something like that, and then draw another 2. So it's just a really good card to have. Also with Misc, even if you don't have an additional pop effect, the good thing with Misc is if you special summon Megalo from your deck, it'll be destroyed during end phase either way. So just great cards that synergize, and it's so easy to go into the Meteor combo with it to clear board. Again, Meteor clears the entire board, not just monsters, like the Eternity card. Next up, we have 1 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now you're probably wondering, wow, just 1 Ash? I have more side decked, but again, what I prefaced at the beginning is you never want to see more than 1 Ash in your hand. In this format, you want to get 1 good Ash off, you know, like think like Fiendsmith Sequence or something like that. You want to look for like a choke point in the opponent's deck and get 1 really good Ash off. If you're ever shotgunning an Ash like from your hand, again, you're just -1. It messes things up for you. It can be pretty brutal mistake. So you just want to maximize consistency as much as possible. So got 1 Ash, and then now going into our board breakers, we have 3 Super Polys. We have 2 True King Agnemazod, 2 Dogoran, 1 Kurikara. And yeah, these are our board breakers. A lot of board breakers. Let's see, we got 8 of them in total. And you could run more if you want to. I think 8 is a solid number in a deck of 40. Yes, it's 20% of the deck. So with that being said, Super Poly, what is there to say about it? It's arguably the best board breaker in the game right now. Your opponent can't respond or chain to this card's activation. So if Detonator or Yummy cards, anything you're trying to just remove off the board, you can Super Poly them in standby, and they can't respond. They just have to take the Super Poly. Next up, we have Kaijus, Dogoran. Again, it's a level 8 fire monster. You can combo it. There's a lot of tribute cards, as you can see. So whether you're using Lava Golem or something like that as well, which is a good option too. The reason I don't use Lava Golem is because this deck has a lot of normal summons. So losing your normal summon is pretty high cost in this deck. So I run Dogoran instead. I just use the one, just take the 1 tribute, and then, you know, if you summon Ponix or Megalo, or usually Ponix, I would say, because you want Megalo to be destroyed. But if you summon Ponix and then get your search off and all that, you can then link into Relinquish Anima to take back Kaiju. Or, you know, if you Kaiju, you can go into Typhon and then send it back to hand, your hand. So it's just a really good combo to have. Again, if you really want more tribute, you can go with the Lava Golem. I just don't recommend losing the normal summon, as you'll see. Next up, we have True King Agnemazud. This card is kind of like another extender in that you can destroy 2 monsters in your hand, including a fire, to special summon it. The cool thing is if you destroy 2 fire monsters, you actually can banish one of your opponent's monsters on the field or in the graveyard. So it's like a Kirin, except instead of a non-targeting pop, it's a banish, non-targeting banish. So insanely overlooked card. Also a fire type. Really great card to have in the deck. I was thinking of running 3, but I think 2 is actually perfect for this deck. And then finally, Kurikara, Divicarnate, also a level 1 fire monster. It gains plus 1500 for each card that you tribute. There's no limit to the cards that you tribute with this. It's really good. The only thing is your opponent has to activate a card's effect. The cards that you're tributing affect that turn. So that's the only thing that limits this. Another cool thing about it is you can special summon it to you can target one monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to the field. So it has reborn ability, board building ability, extending ability. Usually you're tributing like, you know, 1 or 2 cards with this. It's at 4,500 plus usually. So just a really good card to have. And then finally, 1 Called By. The reason I run Called By is because it's really good in the mirror. Like if you're playing another Fire King, you want to banish Promethean or Garunix or Kirin, even just something from the grave. Also, this deck is really has a lot of choke points as well in its extension. So, you know, if someone's trying to ash you in a choke point or Nibiru or something like that, Called By is just a great card to have. But you just got to be careful with it. If you are able to play around their ash, you don't want to use this. You probably want to save this because what you can do is you can go into Hita in your extra deck, pull the ash back, go into Princess Reborns, and then you can go into a Link 4 or something like that. So that's really good. Going more into the extra deck, we have 2 Jurrac Meteor and 2 Astero. So a lot of people are running 3 of these. I'm just running 2. You'll see why in a second, but I think 2 is more than fine. Very rarely are you wiping the entire board more than 3 times in a game. So usually it's just like once or twice. If you're in the mindset of wiping the board 3 times, you're giving your opponent way too much window. So I think 2 and 2 is perfect for this. Astero is sent to the grave off the Megalo Destruction, and it's a quick effect special synchro summon. So you quick effect, synchro into Meteor, Meteor blows up the entire board. And then the cool thing about Meteor is you special summon a tuner from grave if you have an additional one after the banishment. So if you have an additional Megalo or even Ash Blossom, you can special summon that as additional like board break material. So very good there. Next up in the extra deck, we have our XYZs. We have 2 Eternity and 1 Typhon. Some people run 1. I personally want to have this as a backup option as much as possible. A lot of the times you'll see people disrupting the Jurrac line to prevent you from setting up. So having an additional board break on your opponent's turn that you can respond to a special summon with off Sanctuary is really good. And then Typhon is kind of like Little Knight, and that's a Swiss Army last minute thing where if all else fails and you really need to remove something, you can bring this out. Also, the cool thing is it negates 3,000 attack monsters and up. This deck, aside from Garunix Eternity, doesn't have any 3,000 attack monsters are up. So it's just a really good fit into the deck. And then next up we have our links. Got 1 Relinquished Anima, 1 Little Knight, 1 Hita, 1 Princess, and 1 Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. So again, with all the tributing in this deck, Relinquish comes in handy more than you'd think. You always want to put it in your link zone in alignment with with the tributed monster. So when you tribute a monster, just make sure it's in alignment with where you can Relinquish Anima it. People do forget about this all the time. Next up, we have Little Knight. Again, another Swiss Army knife card. You're going to notice that a lot of times there's cards that are immune to destruction effects. So you're going to be relying on Little Knight a lot to, remove cards in that way. You can go into Relinquish and then tribute Relinquish to go into Little Knight to banish on summons. So really good combo. Next up, we have Hita. This is what you use for the Ash line where you want them to Ash you. You reborn their Ash, go into Princess. Princess is like your main extra deck monster. You always want to have this in grave. She destroys one of your fire monsters and one of your opponent's special summon monsters as a target. The extra pop allows you to trigger and firework your Fire King effects. So it's a really good card. And then also you can bring out Raging Phoenix, which just fits perfectly with Princess. You're constantly just cycling these two from your grave. Also, because 2,700 attack point monsters and up, like Kirin, Garunix, things like that are constantly being destroyed, this card's constantly being at 5,500 plus attack when you summon it. So this is kind of your OTK boss monster, I would say, that your opponent definitely has to account for when it's in your grave. And then finally, to wrap up the extra deck, we have our Super Poly Fusion targets, 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Garura, and 1 Starving Venom Dragon. Starving Venom Dragon comes in handy a lot. You're facing a lot of dark type decks in this meta. Mud Dragon also, as a quick effect, can change its type. So you want to change it to fire, to the fire type, fire attribute, and then your opponent can't target fire monsters with effects. This is on the board. Also, it gives you another fire monster to pop and feed into your engine and all that. So really good. Garura, an extra draw as well. So yeah, just really good options to have in your extra deck as always. And then finally for our side deck here, there's like a few different things you can do, but again, Golem is just something that is useful against 2-card boss monster decks, whether Ryzeal, have Detonator and Duo Drive on the board, or You know, a lot of times, like I'm seeing like on a mat trap tricks or, you know, like synchro monsters, yummy, you know, things like that, blue eyes. So just like a good option to have. Level 8 fire. You just got to be careful with the normal summon as cost. You can't normal summon with this. So good thing to have in the side depending on what you're playing. Droll, Lancia for Malice. Harpy's cross out designator. You can use this in tandem with one of these or Ash or something like that. I do run a Talents, still comes in handy. Droplet is an amazing card. I do find myself side decking this in a lot, depending on what deck you play. I'm also running a Pankratops, just having an immediate board removal. If I put Pankratops in, I'll usually put in a Animadorned as well, just because I'm seeing more dinos. Fulos, Ghost Spell, another Ash, Raigeki, Dark Ruler, and Evenly Matched. Raigeki is good for the board wipe. You just don't really need to use it much just due to like how much effect you have on the deck. Harpies, if I'm playing heavy back row, I'll side that in. Dark Ruler is just one of the best cards in the game right now for board break. And then Evenly Matched, generally I don't like to use it. However, it's really good in the mirror game. Like Fire King really suffers against Evenly Matched at times, and you know, other deck building things. So just a good card to have potentially as well. And then just to wrap things up here, outside of the side deck, some other things I wanted to know as far as like tech ideas. You could use Barong as well. The only thing is it's a feel-good card. It allows you to search any Fire King card off destruction. The only thing is, for what it does, I just don't think it's super important to have, especially in a leaner 40-card deck. So it's a feel-good card. Would love to use it, but not really what you want to see in this format. And then we actually have the Stalos, the Mega Monarch. Shout out to my friend Kyle who thought of this idea, but basically you can tribute summon this card by tributing one tribute monster. So you can actually Kaiju or Golem or do something like that. Tribute your opponent's cards, and then if you have this card in your hand, you can tribute the tribute card, summon this, look at your opponent's hand, do a one hand rip, and then you inflict damage to your opponent equal to whichever card you tributed times 200. So if it's level 8, that's 1600 damage. And then if it was tributed using a fire monster, you inflict an additional 1000 damage. So that's a 2600 burn and tribute combo. It's also a level 8 fire as well. So I mean, insane tech idea potentially here. The only reason I'm not running it is because it's a 2-card combo. I want to see a little bit, you know, more consistency. So nice thing to have if you can pull this off. Let me know what you guys think about that. And then some other extra deck ideas. Because you're running Queen of the Blazing Domain and the Vanisher cards, the Agdamazud, you have potentially 3 to 4 level 9s in your deck at all times. So Canine Werewolf is an option. Also with the level 8s in this deck, you could also run a Dingirsu or a Teardrop the Rika Queen. Dingirsu is good against Exodia or things, again, that can't be destroyed. You can just, you know, send a card off the field on summon. And then Teardrop, she can actually tribute. So these are just, again, they're not like in the side deck or anything like that. These are just additional tech options for you guys to craft with. Zealantis, Doolittle Chimera, Salamangreat Wolf, Dark Charmer, and Dugaris. You'll see most Fire King players running these two, one of these two. It's an additional extender. The reason I don't run these two is because it creates an additional choke point in your combos. If you look at a lot of like games online, yeah, the French player Ricard, I know he's a Fire King player. He runs this, and a lot of times people just nib him on this, and it's I don't know, it just seems like a choke point that I don't really want to find myself in. It is nice to reborn a a Kirin from your extra deck to have pop on your next turn. But again, it's just a little risky. So these are just two potential extenders as well. Dugaris is another fire monster. Nice to have that you can use to either OTK or draw 2 cards as well. Dark is really good against Mitsu. You can go into Dark with Relinquish through Ponix as your Dark monster material. The only time I found myself playing it, though, was against Mitsu. Mitsu is the one deck you got to be careful of with this because they want you to tribute their cards to get more adding from their deck. So Dark is a good monster to potentially hold in your side, just in case you're playing like the Mitsu combo. And then Zealantis, another board wipe as well. Not much to say about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think. If you want a quick combo tutorial, I could post some shorts or even, potential games of me playing this in this current meta. So either way, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe for more, and thanks.